Hello children, once again I am here with a new topic, insolation. Okay, now in this video we have to discuss about insolation, solar radiation, terrestrial radiation, various methods of heat transmission, and the various factors which influence the distribution of temperature on earth, right? And along with that, a very important topic, that is heat budget. So let's start with it. First of all, what is insolation? It means incoming solar radiation. Okay, now the term comes is, what is solar radiation? Okay, solar radiation basically, children, is the heat which is given out by sun in the form of radiation, right, in the form of rays, that is called as solar radiation. Okay, again I am telling you, the radiation which is given out by sun, that is called solar. Okay, solar radiation. Same way, the heat which is given out by earth, right, again in the form of radiation, that is called terrestrial radiation. Okay, solar, terrestrial, sun, earth. Clear? Now let's start with this topic first of all, right? And before we start with this topic, once again I want to remind you, if you like this channel, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and share the link of this video with your friends. Okay, and I'm sure it's going to help you a lot in your studies and your preparations for your exams and the competitive exams and all. Now let's start with the topic. First of all, children, what is insolation? Insolation is actually the solar radiation only, right? The part of solar radiation which reaches on the earth, the amount of solar radiation that reaches on the earth and is absorbed by earth, that is called as insolation. Okay, that is insolation. Now that heat is not the total heat which is given out by sun. Sun gives out heat or the radiation, right? Total we can take on one side, it is 100%, suppose, right? But 100% is not received by earth. Okay, children? At the time when it reaches on earth, it is reduced to a small quantity of it, right? Some part of it is actually reflected back to the space directly. Some part of it is absorbed in the way by atmosphere, by the dust particles, right? So ultimately what reaches to earth, what reaches on earth and earth absorbs that heat, that is called insolation. Okay, incoming solar radiation. Then after this, children, the next term you should be very clear is the terrestrial radiation. Okay, now what is terrestrial radiation? Terrestrial radiation is that you can say during daytime, insolation is received by earth, right? Earth absorbs the heat which is coming from the sun. Okay, and this heat at the night time is given back by the earth into the atmosphere. The heat which is given back by the earth at the night time is called as terrestrial radiation. Have you understood? So terrestrial means the heat which is given by earth. Solar means the heat which is given out by sun. Both are in the form of radiation. Clear, children? So the basic topics should be very clear to you. The basic these terms should be very clear to you. Solar radiation, insolation, terrestrial radiation. Now let's talk about another thing. Children, there are various methods of transmission of heat. Okay, there are different methods. Now basically the three methods are commonly seen, right? Number one, you can see conduction, right? Number one is conduction, number two is convection, number three is radiation. Okay. Now what is conduction? Conduction is a, you can say, a method of transmission of heat, especially we find in the solids, right? And it happens when a hot body comes in contact with a cold body. And what happens then? The molecules, right? Molecules from a hot body start vibrating, and this is how they actually transmit the heat from the hot body to the colder one. Clear? And this is called, this transmission of heat from one body to the other, from hot body to the cold one, right? This is called conduction. This is called conduction. Okay, you can see here one of the examples which are given here, a metal spoon, which when it is actually kept in boiled water or the tea, right, you'll find within a few seconds that spoon also gets hot, right? This is totally by conduction. When it comes in contact with the hot water or hot tea, it also gets hot. Okay, same way you can see the second and the third examples given here, right? In both these cases you can see the heat is transferred by the thermal conduction. Clear? By the direct contact. Okay. Second method of transmission of heat is convection. Now what is convection and where does it actually happen, right? Convection basically is a process which can be seen in the liquids and the gases also, right? Basically the fluids, you can say. Clear? And it is a process in which it is again a process of transmission of heat, right? Method of transmission of heat. But in this you will find one example I'm giving you. Suppose a tumbler is there with some liquid in that, right? When heat is applied from below, right? You can see here on the right side the picture. When heat is applied, the liquid gets hot, okay, and the hot liquid gets actually lighter in weight and it rises up. Okay, it rises up, and as it rises up, from the other sides the cold liquid takes its place. So the same process goes on, children, again and again, right? So it leads to the development of a circular movement. Okay, a circular movement of within that liquid or within that fluid. Even it can be seen in the atmosphere, right? You can see here in this picture in front of you, the warm air, suppose anywhere it's a high temperature, okay, that makes the air in that area to get hot. And when that air gets hot, always it gets lighter in weight, okay, and as it gets lighter, it rises up. When the air is going up, it rises up. So the space which is left behind, okay, it is filled by the cool air from all the sides. So in this way, again, it gets hot, again it rises up, again the cool air takes its place. So the same thing happens in the case of atmosphere also, as we have discussed in the case of liquid. Clear? So what is the result? The result is actually a circular movement starts, right? And this ultimately leads to the development of several convectional currents, right? These are called convectional currents, which transmit the heat from hot to cold and cold to hot, liquid, or it can be the air. Okay, so that is actually called as this process is called convection, and these currents which are actually formed as a result of it, these currents are called the convectional currents. Clear? And it happens in the fluids. You can say the liquids, you can say the gases. It is seen in these two matters. Okay, now let's talk about the third one, that is radiation. Okay, now actually from the sun the heat is given to earth or all around, right? Basically in the form of radiation only, right? In the form of rays. So this is one example, or you can say in simple way, you must have seen also at times when we during winters, right, we have suppose the heater at our homes or anywhere the fire is there. So we at a distance when we sit, still at a distance also we are able to feel the heat of it, right? So that is what, there is no medium in between. Understood? There is no solid, or we are not just going to touch that. Clear? So what is happening there? It is the transmission of heat by the rays, okay, or the heat waves, you can say. That is actually called as radiation. Clear? This is the third method of transmission of heat. And the sun gives out its heat in the form of radiation called solar radiation. Same way, the earth also gives its heat, what is actually absorbed by the earth during daytime. It actually gives out the same heat at the night time, okay, to the atmosphere. And this is again in the form of radiation. Understood now? So these are a few terms which should be very clear to you children. Okay, now let's move to the next thing. Yes, before we move to the other topics, there's an example, right? The two pictures showing the different methods of transmission of heat. You can see the difference. Okay, convection is with the, suppose, air, right? The convection is the transmission of heat is going on here, right? Conduction, by touching this rod, the heat is being felt. And radiation, no medium is there, still we feel the heat. Okay, here also we can see conduction, when we touch the handle of this tumbler, right, pan, we actually feel it hot. Convection, inside the pan the liquid is going through convectional process, right? Radiation, when the heat is being given out by the heater, right, that is actually it's not touching the this pan, okay, but still it is getting the heat. Now it is by the radiation. Clear children? So these all are the various methods of transmission of heat, right? Now there is a basic difference children between the solar and terrestrial radiation. Okay, generally we say that the solar radiation, in just the basic difference, the first most important difference is that no doubt solar radiation is given out by sun. Okay, radiation given out by sun, that is called solar radiation. The radiation which is given out by earth, that is terrestrial radiation. Okay, but along with that children, one more thing is there which you should know, which is very very important to know about it. Okay, solar radiation is actually transmitted in the form of short waves, right? These are short wave radiations. But on the other hand, if you see the terrestrial radiation which is given out by earth, that is always in the form of long wave radiation. Now what is the basic difference between the two? This also you should know, right? You can see the difference is there in front of you. Solar radiation, the first one, it is most intense in the visible portion of the spectrum, right? Most of the radiation has wavelengths less than 4 micrometers, right? Most of the radiation children have got a wavelength less than 4 micrometers, and which is then called as short wavelength. Okay, short wave radiation. Clear? This is why it is called short wave. Clear? Second one, the radiation which is actually radiation emanating from Earth's surface, you can see here, and the atmosphere consist mainly of that having wavelengths longer than 4 micrometers. Okay? And this type of electromagnetic energy is called as long wave radiation, right? So the basic difference is what? The wavelength is less than 4 micrometers, that is short wavelength, okay, short wave radiation. When the wavelength is, you can say, more than 4 micrometers, okay, longer than that, that comes under the long wave radiation. Okay, this is again a very important difference between solar and terrestrial radiations. Clear now? Yes. Now let's move to the next topic, Yes, again, this is an important thing to know. Okay, now solar radiation, children, it comes in three parts, right? It has got three parts, and generally it is seen in the number one. The first part of it is the white light. Okay, clear? The white light. Generally, you must have seen, you must have felt actually, it happens every day when we get during daytime, dhoop hoti hai na, dhoop. Yes, and the light which we get by that sunlight. Okay, sitting inside the room also we can feel the light. That is white light. Have you understood? That is white light. Clear? Second one is infrared radiation. What is now infrared radiation? It is a type of radiant energy that's invisible to human eyes. Okay, we are not able to see that. Understood? But yes, we feel that. We feel the heat of it. Clear? So that is actually called infrared radiation. Another one is there, children, that is again ultraviolet radiation. Right? The third part of solar radiation, you can say, that is in the form of ultraviolet radiation. And what is it now? Again, it is in the form of invisible rays, right? That are a part of the energy that comes from the sun. Clear? So these all are the three different, you can say in different parts, the solar radiation which comes to us are these. All the three different parts are there. Right? Now, let's move to the next topic. Next is, children, you must have seen many times and you must have felt also that what can be the reason behind the variation in temperature, right? You must have seen, no? And have you ever thought of it? What can be the reason behind the variation in temperature at different parts? Because if you see during daytime, just an example I'm giving you, during daytime what happens? We are getting the sun rays, right? Okay. So the entire area which is actually facing the sun rays, right? That part of the earth which is getting the sun rays, I'm just talking of that part. Clear? So if we all are getting the sun rays everywhere on the earth, why not the distribution of temperature at every place is equal? Actually, it's not. Yes, the distribution of temperature is unequal. Okay, this is the fact. But what is the reason? Have you ever thought of it? What can be the reason behind it? Yes, that only we have to discuss now. Okay. Number one, the first factor which is there behind it is the latitude. The first thing you can see here. Right? Latitude is the first factor for actually this variation in temperature. Clear? Number two is altitude. Okay, altitude. That means the height from the mean sea level. Number three is distance from the sea. Clear? Distance from the sea or the coastal area. Number four is the slope of land, right? Slope of the landform. And the next is winds and ocean currents, right? Now all these five factors are there which affect basically the distribution of temperature in different parts, okay, on different areas of the earth's surface. Okay, now how does all these factors work? That has to be discussed now. Clear? Let's start with the first one. Okay, children? Now the first factor you can see in front of you, that is latitude. Okay, now you all must have studied earlier about the various heat zones. Yes, these are the important latitudes on the earth, right? This is Tropic of Cancer. First of all, 0 degree, which divides the earth into two equal halves, that is equator. You can see here in front of you, right? Equator, 0 degree. 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south. These are the two tropics. Tropic of Cancer in the north and Tropic of Capricorn in the south. Got it? Next one is Arctic Circle. in the northern hemisphere, Arctic Circle at 66.5 degrees north. Okay, same way in the southern hemisphere, it is Antarctic Circle, again 66.5 degrees south, right? And extreme north, that is at 90 degree north, it is North Pole, and same way in south at 90 degrees south, it is South Pole. Clear? Now, why I have mentioned all these important latitudes? Because you know it very well, children, between these all latitudes, the various heat zones lie. Okay? Now, between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, which heat zone is there? Come on. It's written here also. It's torrid zone. Okay? And torrid zone is considered as the hottest zone on earth. Clear? After the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn till Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle, right? The pink colored area you can see, this is actually the temperate zone, right? Temperate, neither it is too hot nor it is too cold, right? And the last one, beyond the Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle till North Pole and South Pole, this portion comes under the frigid zone, right? The coldest zone on earth. Okay, now what is the reason behind it? This you should know. Clear? What can be the reason? You can see here, children, on the screen again, the first picture which you can see here. Suppose on the left side there is sun, right? Okay, sun rays are coming to us on the earth, right? But if you see it properly, you will find over the equator, right? Over the equator and the nearby region, you can see here the sun rays fall vertically, right? For maximum part of the year, you will find the sun rays fall vertically between this area, right? Between the two tropics, more or less. Clear? So that's why if it is coming here directly, it is vertical, right? So what is the result of it? You know, children, it is, first thing, it is covering the shortest distance here. Can you see this? Shortest distance is being covered by the sun rays. Number two, the portion where the heat is actually being received on the earth, that portion is a small area, right, over which the entire heat is being received. Okay, this makes the heat to be maximum in this area, thus making it the hottest zone on earth. Understood? Now come to the next one. Temperate zone generally is in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle, children, and Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. Clear? Now the temperate zone, children, you can see, as compared to the equatorial or the tropical zone, the sun rays are falling there a little obliquely, right? Okay, a little slanting rays are reaching there. Clear? Now what is happening here? As compared to equatorial region, you can see very clearly the distance covered by the sun rays is much more, right, than the distance which was being covered in the equatorial region. So this makes the heat which is received is comparatively less. Moreover, you can see, children, the area which is being covered by these sun rays is more than the area which was there in the equatorial region. Clear? This again makes the distribution of heat in the entire area, and thus it gets less heat as compared to the equatorial or the tropical zone. Okay? Let's talk about the third part of it, that is the frigid zone, right? Very close to the pole, or you can say from Arctic Circle to the North Pole, Antarctic Circle to the South Pole. This is the area there, children, which is the coldest zone, or which is also called as the frigid zone on the earth, right? Now what is so important about it? Why it is the coldest? You can see here the distance covered by the sun rays is maximum in this part, right? The distance covered is the maximum in this case, right? Number one. Number two is that the area, you can see here, from here it's starting until the time it is reaching here, it's actually covering a large area where the heat of the sun rays is getting distributed. Okay. And when the heat of the sun rays get distributed over a large area, naturally the heat received at one place will be very less. Okay. This is the reason, children, why in the frigid zone it is the coldest zone on earth. Right? It is always said that the heat received is minimum. This is the reason. Okay. Is this clear to you, children? Now, after the effect of latitude, you can see here how the latitude affects the distribution of temperature over the entire earth. Right? Now, after latitude, the second factor which we have to discuss is the altitude. Right? Now, you have studied earlier also, children, about the normal lapse rate. Okay. Now, what is normal lapse rate? It is simple. As we are there on ground, okay, on ground at the same time, the temperature will be higher than any place which lies at a higher altitude, suppose on any mountainous area, right? Why it is so? At the same time, on the same day, same time, that there is temperature variation between the two places, and it is mainly because of it is actually the rate of decrease of temperature as we go higher up over the mountains. This is called as normal lapse rate. Okay, it is basically because of the normal lapse rate that we find low temperature in Shimla, in Darjeeling, in Srinagar, Ooty, right? But as compared to that, on the same day at Lucknow, at Delhi, at Agra, Patna, all these places experience hot conditions. The temperatures are higher. Okay, why? Because these places are comparatively lying on a plain area, right? As compared to these places, if you see Srinagar, if you check Shimla, Ooty, Darjeeling, all these places, children, these are lying on the hills or the mountains. These are all the hill stations. Okay. So how does the you can say the effect is there due to this altitude? I am telling you, as we go higher up, children, with an altitude, with an ascent, you can say, right, with a height of every 166 meters, there is a fall of 1 degree centigrade temperature. Okay, and this is called as the normal lapse rate. Again, I am repeating, at every 166 meters of ascent, right? Ascent means going up. There is a fall, there is a decrease of 1 degree centigrade temperature, right? So you can easily imagine if any place is lying at thousands of meters altitude, what will happen? Naturally, temperatures are going to vary at that place, and what temperature we have over Lucknow and Delhi or Agra, all these places. Okay, so this is actually called as normal lapse rate. Now, have you ever thought of it why it happens? Yes, basically it happens because, children, the terrestrial radiation is the main source of heating the atmosphere, right? You all know it very well that the two radiations we are getting, right? One is from the sun, that is called solar radiation, in the form of what? Short waves. Yes. Okay. And when we are getting it from the earth, that is called terrestrial radiation, it is in the form of long waves, right? Always the atmosphere gets more heated up by the long waves, or we can say the terrestrial radiation, not the short waves. Okay. So little effect, you can say little temperature, little heat is absorbed from the solar radiation, but major part of the total heat which is absorbed by the atmosphere is from below, from the earth. right? And this is the reason here, children. As we are on the plain area, in any plain area you will find the temperature is higher, right? As we go higher up, with every difference of 166 meters, there is a decrease of 1 degree centigrade temperature. Understood now? So this is the effect of altitude on the distribution of temperature on the earth. Okay, children? Now let's move to the next factor. Okay. Now what is the effect of distance from sea? Because you all know that the places, suppose maybe some of the places are lying on the coast, some other places are lying in the interiors. Okay. So what is the effect of this particular factor? Again, this is a very important factor in determining the temperature conditions of any place, right? And the most important reason behind it, all of you know it very well, children, that is the sea breeze and land breeze, right? You must have studied about this earlier. Now, what are these sea breeze and land breeze? Yes, and what is the effect of this sea breeze and land breeze on the temperature? All the places which are lying close to the sea, right, children, which are lying in the coastal area, right? These places are under the influence of land and sea breeze. And all such areas which are on the coast, they experience a moderate temperature condition, right? Even during hot summers, these places which lie on the coast, they are experiencing a moderate temperature because of the influence of sea, right? Or the other way you can say the maritime influence or the influence of land and sea breeze. Clear? But as compared to the area which is lying on the coast, if you are going to any places which are lying in the interiors, right, away from the coastal influence, what is seen there? The temperatures are always extreme in all those places, right? And what type of temperatures? You'll find summers are very hot. Okay, even during daytime, you'll find the temperatures go very high. Mostly, right? And during the night time or during winters, you can say winter season, the temperatures go very low. Okay, that is basically because these places which are lying in the interiors, these are away from the coastal influence, right? Away from the influence of land and sea breeze. Okay. Now, basically, what is actually the effect of land and sea breeze? In short, I am going to tell you about this, right? Here you can see, children, first of all, the very basic thing, this should be very clear to you. Then only you will be able to understand this effect of land and sea breeze on the temperature, right? First of all, during daytime, let's take one by one. Okay, during daytime, generally what happens? The sun rays are coming to earth. Okay, so the sun rays are equally being received by the land and water both. Okay, but as compared to water body, okay, the land being solid, the land has, because solid has got a tendency to receive and to lose heat much faster. Okay, it gets hot as well as it gets cold also much faster than the liquid, or you can say generally water. Okay, so here also the same thing is happening. Land gets hot much faster by the sun rays. Okay, but still at that time, if you see the temperatures over the water body, or you can say the sea or ocean, there the temperature is still low. Okay, clear? Now what is the result of it? Because the land gets hot, over the land there develops a low pressure area because the warm air goes up. Okay, as the warm air goes up, the low pressure develops over the land area, right? Okay, as compared to this, if you see over the sea or ocean body, because the temperature is lower, right, so that makes the pressure to become high, and this is the reason behind the movement of winds. Okay, so the winds start blowing from high pressure to low pressure area, right? Or in this case you can say the winds start blowing from sea towards the land. Understood? And as these winds come from the sea towards land, I told you earlier also, children, when the winds blow from any area to some other part, always they are known by the name from where they come. Okay? Same way, here also you'll find as these winds blow from sea towards land, so these are called the sea breeze. Okay? And what is the influence of this sea breeze? Sea breeze always, because they are coming from the sea and these are cooler winds, right? So they actually lower down the temperature of the land area, right? So this is one of the reason behind making the temperature moderate. Clear? In the coastal area. Now come to the other part of it, right? During the night time, it's just opposite. During night time, what happens now? As I said in the earlier part, children, the land gets hot as well as cold much faster than the sea. Okay, so at night time when there is no sun rays now are coming to us, right? No solar radiation is coming. So what happens then? At the night time, now the land actually gives out heat much faster than the sea or ocean. Okay, and this makes the land to become cold much faster than the sea. As it gets colder than the sea, so what is the result? What type of pressure will be formed? On the land now develops just opposite. Now it is high pressure over the land, and as compared to this, if you see the sea or the ocean body, there the temperature is still higher. Okay, and so the pressure which develops there is a low pressure area. Okay, now the high pressure is over the land, low pressure is over the sea. So the breeze or the wind start blowing from land towards the sea, right? As the winds start blowing from land to sea during the night time, that is why these winds are called as the land breeze. Okay, children, and in keeping the temperature of the entire coastal area moderate, the most important role is that of the land and sea breeze, what you can find in front of you. Okay, I hope this much is clear to you. And whichever area is away from the coastal influence, that area is going to get the extreme type of condition, or you can say the continental type of condition. Okay, that means summers are going to be very hot, winters are going to be very cold. Okay, now let's move to the next factor. Okay, now it is the slope of the land, right, children? Now what is it actually? You know, children, when on the slopes of any mountains, right, one side of it, one slope of the mountain is getting the rays, right, is getting the direct sun rays, that gets a little more hotter than the other slope of it, right? And this makes on the same mountain, you know, on the same mountain, generally with altitude, no doubt, there is a fall of temperature, okay? But still, on one slope of the mountain, generally when it gets the sun rays, that makes a little temperature to rise a little in that, right? But as compared to that, if you see the other slope of the mountain, there is no sun rays which are being received over that side. Okay, so that side is always away from it, and it is not getting any heat which is actually given by the sun rays. Clear? So that side or that slope of the mountain is going to be cooler than that slope which gets the direct sun rays. Okay, clear? And one more thing is there, children. Here I want to tell you. At times it happens, you know. Generally it is experienced during the winter nights. Okay, according to normal rule, okay, normal conditions, what we know that as we go higher up, just now we have done that, the normal lapse rate. Okay, according to that, what is it? As we go higher up, temperature decreases, right? So according to that, it should be as we are going down deep inside in the valleys, the temperature should rise. Yes? Yes or no? The temperature should be higher, no? But it's not. In certain cases, it is not seen that way. Okay. Why? Because, children, some examples you can easily find in the winter nights in the valley regions. Okay. Especially in those valleys which are actually surrounded by mountains on both the sides, the mountains are there. Okay. Now what happens there? You can see here in the picture, right? Now here what happens? Suppose the cool air, right, along the slope of the mountains, which are the cool air which is there, because the air gets cool, so it always subsides. Okay, always it settles down, right? So you can see here, along the slopes of the mountains, when the cool air is there, always it starts moving down along the slope, right? So where does it reach? It reaches to the valley region. Okay, in this part, right? You can see in this the picture which is given here, right? Now in this picture, if you see along the valley, right, in the valley region, all the cool air has settled down, right? Thus, the temperature of the valley region is actually, it starts falling down. Okay. The cool air which has actually settled down in the valley, that makes the temperature to go down to a very low level, right? Thus making that part to become even colder than the slopes of the mountains. Understood? Once again, I'm telling you, children, the valleys, right, deep inside the valleys, at times it happens, right, that the cool wind, right, cool air, you can say, which is there along the slope of the mountains, it starts going down. It settles down because cool air is always heavier, right? That always starts settling down. And where does it go? It goes down in the valleys, right? And moreover, the sun rays also reach very rarely you will find that the sun rays are able to reach in the deep valleys. Okay. So sun rays are also not reaching, and the cool air is also already it's present. So what happens then? The temperature goes down in the valleys. But the other way, if you think of it, according to the normal conditions, it should be always higher temperature. Na? What we have studied, normal lapse rate is the normal condition. Okay, but at times you will find this type of thing happens, right? It's not a normal thing. This actually the lowering down of the temperature in the valleys and all this is not a normal thing, right? It is not found very commonly, right? And that's why this is called as inversion of temperature, right? Inversion of temperature, that means just opposite of the normal lapse rate. So these are all the different factors which influence the distribution of temperature on the earth, right? Now children, in the next video I am going to explain again a very very important topic of this particular chapter, right? That is heat budget, right? In itself it is a very very important topic. So we are going to meet again in the next video, right? Till then, bye, and don't forget to share the link of this video with your friends. Okay children, bye.